suspend this standing order, take all three readings.
My apologies. Sorry. Prime Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I move the standing orders number 13 and 54 be suspended to enable the supplementary appropriations bill, bill number 3 for 2012, bill 2013, bill number 1 of 2030 to be introduced at this stage and to be taken through all the stages.
Very well. Honourable members, the question is that standing orders numbers 13N and 54 be suspended. And those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. At this stage, Honourable Minister of Finance, I believe.
Thank you very much, sir. That having been done, I now first of all wish to signify that in accordance with Article 171 of the Constitution, Cabinet is recommending appropriation of 3, 2012 Bill 2013, Bill number 1 of 2013 for consideration by the National Assembly. And I now present the bill to the Assembly and move it to be read the first time. I don't know, sir, if you would accept the first reading.
No, I think we'll, for the avoidance of all,
In that case,
for the avoidance of caution.
in
The
that
question
case,
is, sorry.
I now move it to be read.
Thank you. The question is, honourable members, that supplementary appropriation number 3 for 2012, Bill 2013, Bill number 1 of 2013 be read for the first time. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried and the bill be read for the first time.
Supplementary appropriation number 3 for 2012, Bill 2013, Bill number 1 of 2013.
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that supplementary appropriation number 3 for 2012, Bill 2013, Bill number 1 of 2013 be read a second time.
Honourable members, the question is that
As I understand, the honorable member was asking about guidelines. I would say that these matters are very difficult matters. They're very challenging matters, and we will do our best to proceed as rapidly as we could on the matter. I would say, if I were to hazard a guess, I would say I hope that we conclude within the first quarter of this year.
Thank you. Honourable members, we have the Public Utilities Commission Amendment Bill, which is a companion bill to the Telecommunications Bill. So, Honourable Prime Minister, I invite you to.
Yes, sir. Similarly, sir, the companion bill, the amendment to the Public Utilities Commission bill act, that is also before.
Thank you. And may I presume on behalf of the members, sir, that this bill will be placed on the same timeline as the other?
Yes, sir. That is so.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, proceeding with our paper, we come to private members' business, and that concludes public business. We will now proceed with the second reading of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Amendment Bill 2012, Bill number 24 of 2012. Honourable Member Mr. Carl Greenwich. But before you do so, may I stand? May I say, sir, that I believe that what you're about to do may be has never been done, because I don't believe the private members bill in the last 30 or 40 years has reached to this stage. So I believe this is a signal moment in the history of the National Assembly of Ghana that you've reached this stage. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd be perhaps much more appreciative of your congratulations after you get it passed, but nonetheless, I wouldn't.
You've gone to this stage.
Thank you very much. I hope that we will be able to entertain and pass a number of others in the wake of this particular one. Mr. Speaker, it is perhaps especially significant, the point that you make, in the light of the fact that this bill
has been the subject of a motion that was extensively debated, and which motion pertains to concerns about the constitutionality of at least one act of parliament which is inconsistent with the constitution as we currently embrace. The motion gave rise, motion which I made reference, gave rise to resolution number 11 of 2012. And as I'm indicating, the concerns that have caused us to still be looking at the issues are the concerns that, notwithstanding that motion, which drew to the attention of the government the fact that the schedule of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act itself infringed directly the provisions of Article 222 and 222A of the Constitution, we remain in a situation where that act has been is unamended by the government. So that is the reason why we have brought this bill to the House. And in essence, what we say is that the bill deals with a number of the bill deals with a number of agencies, which agencies are meant to be part of the framework that are intended to protect our fundamental rights. And I'm speaking here of the Judiciary, the Service Commissions, the Ombudsman, the Public Procurement Commission, the Auditor General's Office, which has subsequently been fixed, as it were, and GCOM. The safeguards are intended primarily to protect our individual rights, as well as the collective rights, those rights that we enjoy and which the government in exercise of its functions can sometimes be in conflict. And I would say the bill and the attempt to deal with this issue is particularly important at this point in time, where I think a number of people feel, and a number of the public debates point to challenges of these individual rights that are enshrined in the Constitution. I would like to perhaps make a couple of opening observations, as it were, before turning to the specifics of the bill. And I make these observations in the light, Mr. Speaker, of some comments you yourself flagged in when the paper was laid for the first reading, and some of which arose from the interventions of the other side when there were attempts to have the bill not considered. Amongst the first of those was a suggestion, that the opposition should be required to present a white paper prior to the submission of this bill on constitutional issues. And I would like to say that apart from the fact that under the dispensation that we have, which is similar to that of the Westminster system, white papers are matters of policy for the government. And when the Minister of Finance in 2003 introduced the entire Act, Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, not an amendment, he didn't see it fit to do so with a white paper. That bill, in fact, is the bill that I'm arguing actually jeopardized our rights, in the sense that it infringed Article 222 and 228 of the Constitution. And somehow the government at the time didn't feel it necessary to implement a white paper for such a sweeping bill. And suddenly for an amendment, we are being asked to present a white paper. In any case, I see under the current dispensation, this is out of order. When the Minister of Finance, following the motion that we had, the motion decided to introduce order paper, when the motion was announced in order paper number 20, and the Minister of Finance reacted by taking the Auditor General's office from the schedule. No white paper was involved. And this is as it should be, because as I'm contending, there is absolutely no constitutional requirement for a white paper, and it's inappropriate for the opposition to be required, let alone a private member's bill, to be accompanied by a white paper. The other observation is that the amendment of the schedule requires an amendment of the Constitution. That is an interesting view. But again, it would have been a lot more persuasive if, when the government itself modified the act by taking the Auditor General's office from the schedule, it had seen it fit to do so by way of a constitutional change. So I fail to see any justification for such a recommendation, and in fact I suspect that the recommendation that was being made was made on the assumption that two-thirds majority would be required to make the constitutional change effective. I'm sorry to disappoint our colleagues on the other side. In fact, as we will show in a few days' time, when we seek to effect that change in constitution, that it requires no two-thirds majority. So I'm saying that we're going along with their recommendation, and I hope that they will find it fit to lend their support to this as well as that amendment, Mr. Speaker. Also, may I say that the apparent conflict arising from Section 82 of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, which section says that the minister may by order amend the schedule, and there was a interpretation of this which suggests that if the minister may amend the schedule, then the House could not amend the schedule. I have sought advice on this, since I myself am not well versed in these areas, and I'm persuaded that the drafting of the act in that manner could never be intended to disenfranchise the House. The House delegates responsibilities to ministers. The minister passes an order, and that could never mean, and it ought not to be intended to mean, that if the minister has the power to pass an order to modify the act, then the House hasn't any power in that regard. Of course, it can't mean that, because the House itself could repeal the act, which has been done at times in the past. So, having, as I said, consulted, I feel that the House retains its power to amend any legislation which the House itself passes. The other observation, I will tackle perhaps a little more detail later, but the idea that the deletion of agencies from the budget agencies listed on the schedule would somehow disenfranchise those entities that are removed. I challenge, because there are many entities that are not on that schedule which receive state monies, and they receive them and have them reflected in the estimates of annual expenditure, estimates of annual revenue and expenditure, and they are therefore not required to be on the schedule. And there are also many entities that are neither mentioned in the FMA Act directly or in Schedule 222A of the Constitution, and they also receive state monies. So the suggestion that if the entities don't appear under the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, they can't get funds, is not really accurate. And I will give you an idea of the specific ones a little bit later. Order number 20, which the Minister of Finance passed, these agencies remain subject to the supervision, as it were, by the Ministry of Finance. Budget submissions, he can terminate or delay disbursements within the fiscal year, notwithstanding the budget approved by this House, if, and to quote the words of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, Section 33(4) says that he may delay or terminate those disbursements if at any time he believes that the exigencies justify them. He may also suspend the payment of any expenditure of public monies. And as I mentioned, the details of the proposals can be amended. I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, that these that are exercised by the Financial Secretary and the Minister of Finance are unconstitutional, because the Constitution Act 222 is unambiguous. It's very clear. It says that no one should interfere with their independence, the exercise of their functions, and that the money should be provided specifically as lump sum payments. So the agencies, Office of the Ombudsman, GCOM, Parliament Office, the Service Commissions as Public Police, Teaching Service Commission, Public Service Appellate Tribunal, are agencies listed in the Constitution as independent. The Ombudsman, for example, is under Title 5, Subtitle 2, and so forth. Under the constitutions of these individual entities, Mr. Speaker, as I indicated at the time of the motion, and as well under sections or chapters 5, 2, 6, and 7 of the Constitution, these agencies are supposed to be treated as independent. And the specific section references or paragraphs or sections, Public Procurement Commission is 212W to 212WE. The Service Commissions, Section 5, Title 7. The Rights Commission, Human Rights, Women, Gender, Indigenous, and so forth are all there, and the Public Service Appellate Tribunal. Article 212G2 says commissions in general, shall be independent and a direct charge on the consolidated fund, just in case one has forgotten that 222 actually says that. So the Article 217.4 also goes on to say that in respect of service commissions, Parliament may prescribe the manner in which the withdrawals may be made from the consolidated fund or any other public fund. So I think it's very important that we recognize and acknowledge and remedy this breach of the Constitution as a matter of urgency. It's been there in existence for over 9 years. And for those who are concerned that the power of a lump sum payment hands a blank check to agencies such as the judiciary, let me say, Mr. Speaker, you will remember that we had this exchange in the course of the motion, that the terms governing accountability of these, what I call constitutional agencies, are specified in the Constitution under Article 216, 217, and 218, as well as 222A and B. And I believe that those provisions are adequate. So, notwithstanding all of this, the agencies remain inappropriately listed as budgetary agencies. And may I go on to say that in March of 2012, the APNU in the preliminary discussions before the AFC was involved in those exchanges, when we had gone to speak to the PPP about their willingness to change the budget, we had given them a list of things, a list of items that we wanted to see treated in the budget. And amongst those was this particular item. And I would like to say, because I know that we have colleagues on the other side who are very fond of rendering their versions of reports of joint discussions, that we did actually engage in an exchange. We did actually engage in an exchange over the removal of these items. And it is in that exchange, if I may say, that Dr. Luncheon waxed very warmly on the sympathy of the government with correcting these oversights and so forth, but saying, unfortunately, almost with tears in his eyes, that this would only be done if it were done, if it had the benefit of a 2/3 majority. As I've indicated to you, Mr. Speaker, my reading, I don't think we need to be delayed by that though, but my reading of the Constitution is that particular matter, 222A, requires no 2/3 majority. And therefore, we will be seeking in a few days' time to lay a bill to amend the Constitution and bring the entities that are constitutional entities properly on the Schedule 3 of the Constitution. But the motion on this matter of the constitutionality of including agencies under the budget as budgetary agencies, did require the government to do something fairly specific. And I just want to be sure at this stage that we understand what is being proposed. I know there are a number of queries raised about whether the agencies need to be on one list or the other. As I mentioned before, let me just say to you, Mr. Speaker, and to colleagues, that agencies currently receive state funds, although they are not mentioned on either list, and I mentioned that earlier. If you look at the list of agencies which receive state funding in one form or the other, these include GNNL, you will probably know this as one of the subsidiaries of NISIL. You have the Letem Power Company, which we had cause to devote a lot of time to last year. NISIL itself receives resources, although it's not mentioned that on the right of those, on the either list, either the Constitution or the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, NCN, and that statutory bodies, CHPM, which you were just chatting about, Chedjag International Airport, Lands and Surveys Commission, UG, GRA, National Trust, all of these are agencies mentioned in neither one of the two documents, okay? Neither one of the lists, neither one of the schedules, but they receive monies. I'm reacting to a query that arose in the course of the exchanges, which suggested that that if they were not mentioned, if you took them off of this schedule of fiscal management and accountability, they would be floating, you would know their rights. So that's the observation I would like to make there. I would want to say to you, Mr. Speaker, that even more egregiously, many agencies which do not enjoy the statutory standing of these constitutional agencies appear in this section that deals with lump sum or block votes. The Letem Power Company is one of them. And they have privileges which the Constitution sought to endow the constitutional agencies with, but which the constitutional agencies don't enjoy. So that's the observation I'd like to make here, further emphasizing the